KFC because him and his brother really like it, even though this is the worst KFC. Sometimes it's like it's been sitting in freaking grease for like a fucking week, that KFC, though. You know, KFC is supposed to taste a certain way. And you know when it's sitting in bad oil?
I don't know what she's talking about, but you know what? Let's
Yeah.
just listen for a minute.
I'll be right back.
Daniel, slow down the question.
You guys take care of Belinda while I'm gone. You guys make sure. Turtle Gang?
This one is good. I already
Okay.
have access to the best
Let me
lawyers.
find it.
That doesn't mean he has a lawyer.
What?
I
People are
already
starting to
have
bail
access.
already. They know what's coming.
How do I do this? Even these little statements where Daniel says, I already have access to the best lawyers. Wow. What a threat. This is what's called an empty threat. This is somebody that has absolutely zero legal representation. He knows that he doesn't have legal representation. He knows that he is overpowered by the legal representation Malaya has. So he is thrown out. He has access. Everybody has access to lawyers, right? You can go to Google and type in the city where you live and say best murder defense or what have you. And you can send them an email for free and get one back. And they say, come on in if you're serious. If you got some cash or you got a good reason for us to take your case. But are they going to take your case for... Come on, man. Daniel. The bluffer. Daniel is the big bluffer. I don't know what the hell she's doing here. What is this?
We're praying for your steel.
So do I need to listen to this? But I forgot I must not be caring about Jack and Lily if I don't listen to it, right? Okay. Let's hear Daphne.
Internet friends, welcome back to the channel. Today I am going over the case of the two missing children, Jack and Lily Sullivan. I have really went through a lot of interviews, and something just keeps bringing me back to the very first interviews that the parents had given on May 3rd. This would have been...
She's changed her style, right? May 3rd, Jack and Lily. All right, anyways, some energy. I need to tell you guys that the early interviews are always the best. Always. Until we have covered all of them. And then we know what to look for in upcoming statements. Then we move to the later ones. But the holes we have in our knowledge need to be filled. And the last few days I've been very busy with Sebastian Rogers because there are things we have overlooked. And with the help of a few good people who have been on it and stayed on it, I'm able to see things even clearer. And now I am revisiting this case after quite some time. Well, not quite some time, but 2 or 3 days, right? Or was it that long? I don't know. Bottom line, Daniel's been yapping up a storm, and I'm thankful that you guys bring it to my attention when there's something of interest. I don't always have it on my screen. Sometimes I'm going to just talk about it because I like to spend very little time on presentation, as you can see. I am much more interested in giving my brain the space needed to recognize whatever I may have overlooked. And that is where certain channels come in. Channels that are reliable. Channels which are not always correct, but where they are trying. Not too focused on the presentation, not to the point where they try to paint themselves as an authority, but much rather where they realize what we don't know. There's a big difference between people who love to share what they know and those who want to find out what they don't know while talking about what they know, of course. So, let's see what Daphne has today.
The date that they did the press conference. So we are going to be going over that today, and I have noticed certain statements that I am really, it's just drawing my attention to.
Good.
Also, we're going to be going over the post that I made last night about the swimming pool, why Janie, would put a swimming pool next to the dog's area where the dog hangs out inside the gate. Why would she put their pool there for that? It just makes no sense when the children are.
You know what? I already covered that. Obviously, the swimming pool part was a lie. So I don't like to waste too much time on the obvious.
Afraid of the dog, and it seemed like the dog didn't like the children. So we're going to be going over that as well. Now, before we get started, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this video. That way you're updated when I post new content. All right, let's get started. Okay.
What's that?
Okay, guys, so the first clip that I'm about to show you is a clip of Daniel Martell's first interview. Now, I just took a clip out of this, so it wouldn't make this video very long, but it's Daniel stating that we didn't hear the kids. And you know, when kids go quiet, it means they're getting into something. Now, what if, allegedly, he was telling us what happened without telling us? Now, I always say, when someone lies,
Okay, when someone lies, what?
like a really large lie, and they got to continue with it, usually that's based on some truth. The truth stabilizes the lie because it makes it easier to remember the lie. Now, I'm not saying in any way that Daniel's lying.
That's true. Oh my God, you're not saying it? Holy crap. Anyways, to put it into the perfect perspective, the right perspective, trying to get it into the perfect perspective, whenever there is something that you want to hide, it is something you're thinking about. It is there on your mind. Whatever else you're talking about, the elephant in the room, if you will, the elephant in your brain. So this elephant in your brain is always there, and you're constantly looking at it. It's in front of your eyes. And you're telling yourself, I cannot get close to this one. I'm going to get trampled. I can't talk about this. I can't talk about it. And the more you tell yourself, I cannot talk about it, the more it's on the forefront of your mind. And that means the more likely it becomes for you to leak part of this information that you are trying hard to withhold. And since it's the truth, it is so closely related to what you're about to say that leakage will happen one way or the other. It can happen through avoidance, through the priorities and the intentions you reveal, the deception, and so on, and the sensitivities, the certain areas that trigger you to change your pattern. And the pattern can change with the speed of voice, the tone of voice, also body language. And again, if anybody tries to tell you body language needs to be ignored, well, some people need to ignore it because if they don't know, if they don't have this kind of antenna, it's better to ignore it. Under no circumstances, under no circumstances do I ever watch the behavioral channel because they get it wrong most of the time from what I have seen. So if somebody gets something wrong, I don't care how entertaining they may come off. And to me, it's not entertaining. But I know to some people who use these criminal cases just to kill time and are not really that interested in getting to the truth. Yeah, maybe, but that's what they maybe want to do. But the only thing I'm asking you guys is, if you want to send me something about the behavioral channel, which some of you have done, I'm not going to look at it, people. Now, if you yourselves are pointing out to me, check this out at the 2 minute and 3 second mark. Listen, watch when Daniel says the word whatever it was, can you tell how his facial movements are changing? And whenever there is a change in patterns, there is a reason for it. Doesn't matter if it's the voice pattern, the body language pattern, or the statement pattern. There is a reason why our patterns get disrupted. And now, as always, I am encouraging all of you to share your thoughts, your real thoughts, not the thoughts of somebody else's ever, right? Well, if somebody else has good thoughts, valuable, then if you truly relate to it and truly agree with it, you will be able to write it down in your own words. I have learned that about myself. When something sticks out to me, I don't need to look it up, and I don't mind being wrong with a couple of words here and there, or that I rather be wrong than allow myself to get sidetracked by a bunch of nonsense, because sometimes some of these channels, they talk a lot of nonsense, but once in a while they get it right. And these are the moments where I don't want to miss. And I've missed quite a few things, but the number one reason for me to miss the good things is because my attention has been drawn to unimportant stuff. And again, in our membership section, we're going to talk a lot more about the details, but I want you guys to not hold back I don't want you guys to ever hold back when it comes to pointing out things that you just notice. And again, free your mind from people who guess too much, right? If they lie to you once, then be very, very, just come on, man, common sense, right? Allow yourself, allow your mind, your intuition to wander to the places that don't make sense to you. When anything doesn't make sense to you, when somebody says something that doesn't make sense to you, there is a reason for it. And when we make it make sense, we realize that oftentimes the person was going to say something completely different, because what the different statement that was on their mind was related to the elephant in the brain.
But we've heard so many inconsistencies from the entire family.
Yeah.
And I think everybody just wants to know where Jack and Lily Sullivan are.
Not just. Everybody wants to know where Jack and Lily Sullivan are. However, when they leak information, we are able to reconstruct what actually took place, and it's going to lead us there. So by eliminating all of the possibilities, the police is now able to say, okay, let's go back to these polygraph tests, right? They're re-examining, looking at it again. And remember, Daniel said the first question was, did you kill Jack and Lily? Bad question. There should be two. Did you kill Jack? Did you kill Lily? So I believe it's possible that he did, unalive one of them, but something happened to the other, which I think is Jack. And therefore, he may have been able to actually pass this one by saying, well, I wasn't really lying. I didn't kill them both, right? So the trigger wasn't there to set off the polygraph to alert that there was deception happening, or fear rather. Fear was being triggered, even though he told us he was terrified. So I don't see how he passed, period, because if he told us how terrified he was during the test, right? Well, again, we haven't heard anything from the RCMP about the polygraph exam. They are revisiting it, very, very good. And of course, Daniel couldn't stop yapping about the polygraph, and then Logan doubled down. She felt like she needed to give him more of a voice. And Logan thinks she's a bright one in the family, and so she loves to just go out there and yap it up. But I think it's going to be a while till we hear from her. simply because she realized just how much she has leaked. And it's interesting again that Janie talked about Daniel made a big mistake. He was yapping too much. But you know what? She was even worse. So they're all smarter than they are. They all think they are smarter than they are. All of them, all three of them. Daniel, Mommy, and Logan. That's what they have in common. So they all feel very confident and they think, well, just give me the microphone. I handle it. No, Janie, you done the right thing, actually, the smarter thing, by not talking for 2 months. But now you think because Daniel may go to prison and the silence is killing you. The RCMP is not, it's not that they don't tell you about where Jack and Lily are. You don't give a crap about them. But that they don't tell you about the investigation. What's going to happen? And that's Janie's priority. What will happen to my boy? So that is what the complaint is about. Not what happened to Jack and Lily. What will happen to my Daniel?
Now, if you remember a man named Chris Watts, he was the man who unalived his pregnant wife and 2 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you remember, I'm going to play the clip in just a moment. Chris says, I miss the kids barreling in through the door. I'm going to play that clip in just a minute. Well, come to find out, his kids were found in an oil barrel. So he was lying, obviously, but he was telling some truth within that lie. Now, I'm not saying Daniel's lying, like I said.
Oh my God, shut up.
I like to listen closely to the very first interviews that people.
This sounds like it could be interesting, actually.
People give, because it gives certain words in there, just like Malaya said, we feel sorrow, and then they both talked about it being wet and hopefully the kids are dry. So could that be an indication of where the kids might be? Who knows? But let's get started with these clips, and I want to know what you think in the comments below. Do you think that Daniel's giving us a clue here, or do you think it's nothing? All right, let's get started.
Get started.
She was still asleep. And I said, I don't hear Lily and Jack. So I jumped straight up out of bed. Silence is never a good thing when you have kids. Because you know they're getting into something.
Yes. What did they get into? And I've said it before when he said Jack was out. There's a possibility that Jack could have gotten into something. And if according to Haley, he had a stash in the bathroom somewhere, oh my God. I mean, there's a possibility here, right? So silence is never good. Wait, did I miss something here? I'm going to have to stop a lot of times to make sure I get this, all of it. She was still asleep. And I said, I don't hear the kids.
I don't hear Lily and Jack. So I jumped straight up out of bed.
He keeps jumping, right? Jumping in the car, jumping out of bed. Just, he's trying to portray a sense of urgency that he didn't have. At least not during the times that he is referring to. But it also indicates that there was a stressful situation. And I'm still saying it was the night before that it all happened. Or the evening, somewhere around bedtime. So bad keeps entering his language anyways.
Silence is never a good thing when you have kids. Because you know they're getting into something.
Yeah.
And then we noticed the boots were gone. We went outside.
The boots again. And of course, I'm thinking about the boot print at the pipeline. I don't know, was it Jack's? Of course, it could have been. He talked about Jack not having his boots on for too long. Maybe the print was done by, it could have been done by him, sure. You know, taking the boot and making a print doesn't mean that there was Jack's foot in there when the boot print was done, was made. So all of this needs to be taken into consideration, that he talks so much about the boots, the pull-up, the backpack, and he also mentioned the 2 shirts. So is there a strategy behind that? We went outside.
Made our way into the back.
Okay, now that you've heard
Made our way into the backyard. Our way. Their way, right? Which also, I believe, comes from experiential memory from that night when Jack and Lily were being removed. That they eventually made their way into the backyard when maybe the ATV was there. Something that they wanted to get the tire track erased off when Janie was raking. And that was the most serious leakage, in my opinion, when Janie admitted that night she was raking. Does that look like a swimming pool is going to be built? Does it look like there has been anything done to get ready for a swimming pool? It doesn't look like anything had been done there on that property. But that particular night, the potholes were being filled. And yes, she told Belinda she was filling potholes. And now it's becoming the raking of the swimming pool. And I mean, these people are absolutely amazing. They think, okay, now let mommy take care of it, Daniel. You've been yapping too much. And now she yaps even more and gives even more away than Daniel has in a while. Of course, Daniel, the accumulation of interviews he gave, he and I don't think he understands. He is the reason we are getting close. He is the main reason. Malaya's statements, yes, they told me already that there was, that he knew what happened to the kids. Also, the kids are no longer alive. There was not an abduction, and she knows that there was no abduction. We know that from her. But Daniel is the one who gave us the details. And he doesn't understand that he did that. He's a very chaotic guy. He continues to yap. He's also telling us the kids lived under horrible conditions when he said, oh yeah, they had a great life with Cody. He doesn't deny it because he can't. And he would if he could. So I don't always need to pay attention to the latest things that Daniel has been yapping. But what I need to do is revisit the older interviews. They are important, and we always miss something. Always. So never hesitate to point out something if you think I missed something. Okay, Daphne, fill me in.
Daniel talk about silence is no good when you have kids, which
Yeah, and that's another one. That silence is no good when you have kids. Well, in this particular case, I believe when they talked about the silence, the kids went silent, the room was silent, the kids were no longer alive. And that's what's entering his mind right now. And that was not about the morning when the children were gone. And remember some of these statements. When they talk about the morning, suddenly we couldn't hear them. Yeah. The memory of suddenly there being silence in the house after this house, the noise from Lily triggering the dog had been a huge issue. And all of a sudden, it went from that to complete silence, dead silence. And he is almost trying in his mind to normalize the fact that on a general basis, well, silence is not a good thing. Well, especially not in this particular case. When you realize the children were no longer alive, a lot of what they're trying to tell us about what had happened supposedly that morning, there is a lot of information being leaked from what I believe took place the night before. Jack has gotten into something, possibly, very possibly. And he said Jack was out. And Lily kept coming into the room multiple times. When Malaya talked about instinctively to call 911, there's a big possibility that when Jack had gotten into something the night before, that maybe he was alive for a while. And instinctively, she wanted to call 911. But her hesitant self didn't just pick up the phone as a so-called go-getter, or don't you don't even have to be a go-getter to pick up your phone and call 911 and say, come immediately, bring an ambulance, my son, something had happened. Yes, it's very possible she sat there and said, should I call the police? Or should I call 911? And that is something that Daniel is trying to use against Malaya. All of the things he is using against her, that he's speaking about to make her look bad, are things that actually took place, but not when he claims they had taken place. That was sometime the evening before. It all comes from experiential memory. And you know what he's telling us? That she is the reason that it had to, in quotation marks, come to this. She could have done better as a mother. She didn't do her job as a mother, didn't follow her instinct to call 911 because it could have all been prevented. But Lily kept coming into the room multiple times. I believe that Lily freaked out and screamed, and that was what set off the dog. The dog was barking. And then she had that look of guilt on her face. What did he say before? Or that shock or surprise when she realized that Mom was home. So Mom called herself a hermit, meaning, before I considered the possibility maybe she has a boyfriend. That woman has no boyfriend. I mean, yes, she's a hermit. She got her dog. And that's pretty much her life, her and her dog, right? So the surprise was not that Mom was home on that property. The surprise was that Mom was home inside of their trailer and saw what had taken place. And I believe there's a good possibility that when she asked, should I call police, that maybe somebody, Daniel or Mommy or both, said, no, we don't want police. It's going to be all right. And maybe that is why Jack is no longer with us. That is the experiential memory that leaked into Daniel's statements. The things he has told us are things that actually took place, but at different times. And so when Mom was there, she had a look of guilt. And Daniel is using that to blame Malaya for what took place. She should have just called 911. Sure. She didn't. Well, did somebody talk her out of it? Did somebody say, no, we don't want police here? But either way, anything Daniel can think of to point out where Malaya could have done better, he is using that also as a hint for her. You did wrong. You are a part of it. I am out in the open. People are looking at me. Did you have anything to do with the disappearance of the children? He said, I 100% did not. The percentage is being thrown in. That's not a reliable statement. He is telling us that he is responsible, but in his opinion, not 100% responsible. And he wants to include Malaya more and more in this without telling us directly what happened. And exactly through these private messages, Daniel has been leaking to us what went on, how bad things had gotten since, compared to the Daniel she first met. All of these things. When he thinks he can do damage control, he's making it worse. He's giving us information. Same with Logan, and especially with Janie. They are all the same. All three of them. Malaya knows when to keep her mouth shut. And he hates it. He wants her to take responsibility, but without saying what actually took place. Go ahead, Daphne.
I totally agree with him on that. Let's listen to what Chris Watts had.
Yes, you agree with him, but again, that was dead silence. That's on his mind. Chris Watts.
To say when police were interviewing him.
And last night, I wanted that knock on the door. I wanted to see this kid just running, just barrel rush me, just give me a hug and knock me off.
Barrel rush me or bear rush me? Barrel, right? Oh yeah. You see, remember the guy who said, "I feel drained," and they found his stepdaughter in a storm drain, and he was eventually brought to justice for the murder. Remember that? This is leakage right here. It's a great example.
Ground, but that didn't happen.
And knock me on the ground. Remember when Katie Proudfoot wants to bulldoze Sebastian, bulldoze him with hugs? Same type of leakage in my opinion.
A hug and knock me on the ground, but
he knocked somebody on the ground. And my thought is that was his wife, who was killed first. Later, the girl said, "What did you do to mommy?" Right? But that is on his mind. I cannot talk about the fact that I killed him. I cannot talk about the fight that we had after we made love, how he put it. I cannot let them know that I knocked her on the ground and then took her life.
that didn't happen.
Okay, guys, let me know what you think about that last clip. Now,
I asked for cadaver dogs back in June. So, the cadaver dogs are on his mind. But, wait a minute. If the kids... What is your theory? What theory are you trying to tell to us? I know it's no longer that the kids went into the woods, right? So the only other possibility other than would be an abduction, right? So if the kids were abducted, if that's what you really think, why would you need cadaver dogs on the property? The kids haven't been found there, anywhere near there. This is telling us that he knows something had taken place there. The usefulness of cadaver dogs is being introduced. And I don't know exactly if there were cadaver dogs. I need to ask somebody about that. But he's introducing that. His mind is going there, that these kids are dead, and the death could have taken place somewhere in that vicinity. Or he feels, well, let me get, okay, like Daphne would say, what do you see? Imagine your children being missing and you have no idea what took place. Would you ask for cadaver dogs? Would that even cross your mind? On your property? You didn't do anything and don't know anything, right? Right? What about your stupid story from your family wino who, that the kids were brought to a reservation? If you really believe that, why would there be a need for a cadaver dog? Think about this for a minute. Yes, we are already advanced here. We already know that it doesn't look good for the children. And I have already indicated that even through Malaya's statement, she leaked, in my opinion, that the kids are no longer alive and that she knows they're no longer alive. But if we were to believe Daniel, he wouldn't know that. But this is exactly how his memory is leaking, because the death of the children is coming into his mind. Something that he may have witnessed. And I say may have because I want to be very general and very careful here. Because the way that we examine statements, we don't want the quick solutions. We narrow it down. In the very beginning, a case is wide open and confusing. But little by little, through their statements, we see it clearer. Let me know what you think about this last. Okay, let's see Daphne.
Some text messages from Daniel or posts. He says, I asked for cadaver dogs back in June, okay? But this is the strange thing.
Yeah?
If you think they were deceased, talking about Jack and Lily, why would Belinda...
If they believed them to be alive, why did Daniel ask for cadaver? Yeah, Belinda, you're right.
Write this. If they believe for the kids to be alive, why would they ask for cadaver dogs? Yes, exactly. That's a good...
And why would they ask for cadaver dogs to come to their property? If he thought maybe the children passed away somewhere after being abducted, why would you need cadaver dogs on your property, dude?
Good question, Belinda. Why would they ask for cadaver dogs? Especially when they're pushing that the kids are on a reserve, right?
What else did he ask for? The polygraph. And early on he asked about, well, he did everything, right? Ahead of the drones, ahead of everybody. He wants to be the one. Well, I asked for it. In case they find something. Well, I'm the one who asked for it. I had nothing to do with it. Why would I ask for it? You see, that's the type of mentality that he has. You always need to remember that whatever strategy somebody uses, likely in an emergency situation, in a panicky situation, is likely a strategy that had worked for them previously. Oftentimes, there's a pattern developed in childhood already. And this pattern continues and it gets reactivated in the moments where somebody needs to think quickly and is in trouble and doesn't want people to know about it and wants to sound like he's not in trouble. So whatever had worked maybe previously, well, I'm the one who asked for it. Well, why would I do this if I had anything to do with it? These types of thought patterns rush through somebody's mind when they're deep in it, when they're deep in it.
And then you have this message from Daniel.
I believe Jack and Lily are alive, hence the reward of 150,000. And my belief that no one that's involved is what the hell is he saying there? And look what he's introducing, a belief. Not I know in my heart, I believe. A belief doesn't require an explanation. But he feels a need to justify it. Because he doesn't believe it. Because he knows they're not alive. So he is using whatever he can grab to make what he knows not to be the case sound more plausible. And mind you, think about it, the Durwood story, the Dingwood story about the reservation. Has Daniel actually made the claim himself? What did he say? How did he react? Daniel is not able to do as much lying as the other person is, because Daniel was there and Daniel knows exactly what happened. It is harder for him to stray away from the truth. I believe Jack and Lily are alive because the only possibility is that they have been abducted, because they're not found anywhere. And I know that, and my story is, and you see, I'm doing the wrong thing now. I'm actually making statements that also leak that I know what I know from him. But if he didn't know what happened, the statement would be, I think they're alive. Because, or I think they could be alive. Listen, the only possibility is that they have been abducted, because nothing happened in the house. I'm a light sleeper. And the only thing that I know is when I last heard them, or I last saw Lily, and they are gone. Poof, they're gone. Somebody must have taken them. And unless that person has unalived them, they would be alive. So there are many ways for somebody who doesn't know what happened to express the importance of looking for the children, because there's a good chance they would still be alive. But what he is introducing is not a thought, but a belief. And it's not a belief because he feels a need to give it legs, to justify a belief. So what he is leaning on is what he wants us to think the RCMP is thinking. From the beginning, he told us so many times. You know, they said that the police said, oh, we know you had nothing to do with it. All of it a lie. Later, he reveals that they said, we think you killed Jack and Lily. So he is using the authority. He loves to use authority to shut people up. Even when he said there was a man in a uniform telling him not to go back into the woods, because he felt the need to explain why, even just for a short period of time, he wasn't out there searching for the children. Under no circumstances can I look guilty. What was on the forefront of his mind was the fact that he knew exactly what happened to Jack and Lily. And he needed to appear as somebody who doesn't know. And the best thing that he came up with is to run around ahead of the drones. He feels the need to tell us what he did, because there was no real sense of urgency, because he knows the kids have been long gone. So he is presenting himself as jumping into the vehicle. The panic that he doesn't have for the children, he is trying to fake. And the belief that Jack and Lily are alive, he is trying to explain and fake by using the authority of the RCMP and the reward. They must think Jack and Lily are alive. They must know something. Therefore, I believe. No, you don't. And my belief, again, belief, that no one that's involved is a murderer. Wow! Bam! That is involved. He is telling you there are people involved. And his priority is nobody gets prosecuted. Nobody gets looked at as a suspect. He is introducing murder. We are not even going there, right? I mean, if you don't know what happened, why are you involving people? You're telling us you know the people that are involved. This is not a random thing, people. This in itself tells us these kids didn't just walk off and get abducted by a stranger. He knows exactly who is involved and is a murderer. He is using a label, a murderer. Are you a murderer? How about you say, took Lily's life? That would be harder for him to say, in my opinion. Because it is easier to deny a label than an actual action. I didn't hurt Lily. Nobody in the house hurt Lily. I want you to be able to say that. Tell me that, Daniel. This is when a good follow-up question is very useful. So what is he telling us in this statement? That he knows they are no longer alive because he feels a need to justify a belief with somebody else's authority, who has not stated what they think happened publicly. The only thing we know from you is that they said to you, we think you killed Jack and Lily. So there's a contrast already. And again, my belief, not my knowledge. He doesn't say no one involved killed them or killed Lily, killed either of them or both of them. Nobody involved. This is a belief. This requires a belief. Something that you're sure about and know about doesn't require you to believe it. A belief, when you know something, you don't minimize it. You don't go from knowledge to belief. That is also when you have some statements where somebody first says, I know, and later says, I believe. He's taking it down because it hurts to lie directly. Like, ooh, I went a little bit, it eases there needs to be a certain balance, unless you're sociopathic and very good at lying and very used to lying. And lying is such a big part of your life on an every single day basis. And it's also encouraging other people to share the belief and trying to make it sound like a virtue. Something that's easier to do. It's easier to have hope than look at the worst case scenario, right? For many people. Well, for me, it's not. Not if the evidence, not if the statements all lead me into the same direction. Because this is what he's telling us. He knows who's involved. And the label of murderer is at the forefront of his mind. And he doesn't want to believe it. He doesn't want you to believe it. He wants you to disbelieve the obvious. And that exactly tells me what happened on the property.
I believe that Jack and Lily are alive, hence the reward of $150,000. So, which is it? So, why keep changing stories and why keep changing your statements? In my opinion, it's like a difference.
Yes, everything is my opinion and my opinion only. Everybody's innocent until the court of law, until the justice to us all. Yeah.
Story every single day. You know, one day the kids are alive, the other day the kids aren't.
No, but his statements are all saying the same thing. It doesn't matter how many different ways he tries to twist it. All of his statements are indicating exactly the same thing. The children are not alive. And the reason he's saying that, the reason he wants you to believe that Jack and Lily are alive because somebody is Yes, that is why he wants you to believe the kids are still alive somewhere, meaning there will be no M-word investigation that will lead to him. That's why he wants to sell you this. And he's overselling it because he knows that even though he is minimizing it to the level of belief, it is still in stark contrast to what he knows had taken place.
You know, in my opinion, I believe that the RCMP believe those children are on that property somewhere, hence why they kept going back and searching, why the drones are overhead, looking on the property all the time.
Yeah, I mean, did they use cadaver dogs or not? I mean, if they're on the... I disagree with that. I do disagree with that, people. I really disagree with that. And I believe that what she raked away were tire marks, possibly from the ATV that hadn't been there in 5 years. But all of a sudden, it showed up that night. Nope, they're not on this property, lady. They're not on there. And if he talks about cadaver dogs, is it... Well, let's get into this later. Let me hear what she says first, and then at the end I give you some additional thoughts.
Following Daniel around, and someone said, well, you know, that could be like private drones or whatnot. Private drones aren't allowed on your property, and they're not allowed to follow you around, or they're going to get harassment charges, especially in Canada, guys. Okay, now we're going to talk about the pool.
They're not on the property, but there is something that they could have missed. And maybe they want to see if their actions lead them. And it may also be their way of saying, we know what happened. I'm pretty sure the Truth Verification Unit, I still love that name, Truth, not Deception Detection, but Truth Verification. Keep it positive, people. It's a very British way, right, to word it. This deniability, no, we just want to verify what we already know, that you're being truthful, so you cannot say anything. Okay, now we're going to talk about the pool. Yeah, go talk about the pool. I don't know even if I want to say too much about that right now because it's so obvious. It is such an obvious thing, right? I mean, should I go any further? Let's see.
For the kids. First off, Janie was like, oh, these people are driving by, filming me at night, telling people that I'm filling potholes. Well, that's what was stated. You were out filling potholes. That's what we were all told by your friend Durwood. Now, Janie has changed the story.
By Belinda. Oh God, you're not listening to Durwood, are you? But Belinda is credible.
It says she was leveling out gravel to put a kid's swimming pool. So for the pool idea, okay, that's...
Yeah, you know what? I think that at this particular point, I'm going to stop it and let you guys continue and let me know what I have been missing in the last couple of days. Any significant statement, bring it to my attention. See if the community link is working. If you have an image to share, a screenshot, anything, because right now I don't want to get sidetracked because this was already a very powerful statement here by Daniel. This was really, really powerful. Even though that's the woman right there, man. That's her. You know, and I believe she's the instigator. Janie was the instigator, and crocodile tears. But they're the tears are for herself and for her son. and what he's facing. Thank you for watching.